Historic RAGBRAI Ride 2025, first time leaving Iowa. Minnesota Route and International Riders. Imagine this, for the first time in over 5 decades, RAGBRAI riders ventured beyond Iowa's borders during their journey to Estherville. This historic moment unfolded on day 2 of RAGBRAI LII, as cyclists pedaled from Milford to Estherville, covering a relatively short but significant 40-mile route. On July 21, the RAGBRAI route did something unprecedented. It guided cyclists out of Iowa and into southern Minnesota. For 15 miles, riders traversed Jackson County, even making a pit stop at the scenic Brown Park. This detour marked the first in the ride's rich history, spanning over 50 years. But here's where it gets controversial. Some purists argue that RAGBRAI should stay strictly within Iowa, honoring its traditional roots. Others see this as a refreshing twist, adding a new layer of excitement to the event. What do you think? Despite the shorter distance, cyclists were on the move bright and early, eventually reaching Estherville. This was a stark contrast to Monday's grueling 70-mile journey from Orange City to Milford. The community of Estherville, with a population just shy of 6,000, rallied over 100 volunteers to ensure a smooth overnight stay for the riders. And this is the part most people miss. The volunteers weren't just working, they were enjoying every moment of it. Just meeting people, chatting with them. I have already met so many people from so many different places. I think it is just awesome when you can get people to small-town Iowa, said RAGBRAI volunteer Liz Montgomery. Her sentiment echoes the spirit of the event, bringing people together from all corners of the globe. Take Jimmy Murray, for example. He traveled all the way from the Gold Coast of Australia to participate. The biggest difference that I notice is the hospitality. Everyone is just fantastic, Murray shared. I knew that early on, like 5 years ago, that the hospitality here is fantastic. He noted that his Australian accent often sparks curiosity and conversation, making his experience even more enriching. But Murray's journey wasn't without its challenges. My aversion to humidity is. I just hate it. But I have to deal with it and I can't complain about it, he admitted with a laugh. Despite the humidity, Murray's enthusiasm for the event was unwavering. As riders prepare to move on to their next stop, the Estherville community has a message they want everyone to remember. We have a lot to offer. I grew up here. I am a local, going to stay a local. This is a great place to live. Estherville has a lot to offer, said Brooke Henriksen, co-chair of the Beverage Garden. So, what's your take on RAGBRAI's historic detour? Do you think it adds a unique charm to the event, or should it stick to its Iowa roots? Share your thoughts in the comments below. For more on RAGBRAI LII, including interviews and updates, head over to ktiv.com's dedicated RAGBRAI page. And if you want to stay in the loop with the latest news and weather from Siouxland's news source, be sure to download the KTIV News app and the First Alert Weather app. Copyright 2025 KTIV. All rights reserved. RAGBRAI Day 3 highlights: Estherville to Forest City, 74 miles of fun. Get ready for the ultimate endurance test. RAGBRAI's third day packs a brutal punch with its longest trek in a historically short event, but here's why this 74-mile marathon might just redefine your ride experience. Cyclists returned to Iowa after yesterday's brief 41-mile Minnesota Lake, facing a demanding journey from Estherville to Forest City with 1,327 feet of climbing. And this is the part most riders underestimate: those intermediate towns aren't just pit stops, they're cleverly spaced psychological milestones that make this beast conquerable. First up is Armstrong, breaking new ground as a RAGBRAI virgin celebrating its debut with First Time's the Charm. Imagine fueling up among VFW volunteers serving breakfast while goat yoga offers unconventional pre-ride stretching. Talk about small-town creativity. Next, Sioux City tempts you with breakfast and, wait for it, a morning beer garden. But here's where it gets controversial. Should riders really be drinking alcohol during an endurance event? Some swear it lightens the mood, while fitness purists call it reckless. What's your take? Then comes Bancroft, a baseball lover's paradise featuring an 80-year-old ballpark that launched MLB careers. Don't miss the fire hose fights, perfect for cooling off, and S&B Farms Distillery, where owner Sarah Winkleman's poignant story connecting her craft to her veteran grandfather might just move you to tears. Seriously, the emotional weight behind that stock could change how you view local distilleries forever. Now brace yourself for the route's most iconic decision point, just past Tatanka, celebrating its Great Stampede Sioux heritage. You'll face the legendary Karras Loop. This optional detour honors late co-founder John Karras, who insisted every RAGBRAI must include a 100-mile challenge. But here's the burning question: in a shortened year, is forcing a century ride outdated tradition or essential rite of passage? Many cyclists passionately debate this. Weigh in below. Hungry? Woden's gourmet lobster rolls and Wagyu burgers await, alongside mysterious tape measure races. Seriously folks, clue us in if you try this. Then Crystal Lake delivers a must-have photo op with its absurd 12-foot, world's largest bullhead statue. But here's the detail everyone misses: that quirky fish monument actually represents the town's ecological connection to its namesake lake. Brilliant marketing disguised as kitsch. Finally, Forest City rolls out the red carpet after 11 RAGBRAI LII years. Beyond the obvious Forrest Gump bench photo ops and movie screenings, they're staging 9 to 5, the musical, the Brick Street Theatre. And get this, RV campers score luxury digs at the Winnebago Rally grounds, ironic pampering after a grueling day. The real kicker? You can tour the actual Winnebago Industries Visitor Center where those iconic vehicles are born. Entertainment Tonight features Birdchild at 5 p.m. and Decades at 8 p.m., but the real headliner might be Mother Nature. Expect 89 degrees Fahrenheit highs with possible thunderstorms and 20 miles per hour southern winds. Pro tip: that tailwind could be your best friend or worst enemy depending on your pace. Looking ahead. Wednesday brings another long haul to Iowa Falls River-cooled paradise. But first, let's debate: does preserving the century ride tradition honor cycling's spirit or needlessly punish riders in an already challenging year? Sound off in the comments. RAGBRAI 2025, Minnesota welcomes Iowa's Great Bicycle Ride. For the first time in more than 5 decades, RAGBRAI broke tradition, and some would say, stirred up a little friendly controversy, by crossing out of Iowa and venturing into Minnesota. If you think RAGBRAI is just about cycling, think again. This 15-mile detour brought up questions of tradition, regional pride, and even playful political ambitions. Curious? Let's dig into this historic ride and why it's generating such a buzz among cycling fans and Midwesterners alike. A historic first crossing. The Register's annual Great Bicycle Ride across Iowa, known simply as RAGBRAI, is an event almost synonymous with Iowa itself. Yet, after 52 years of keeping its wheels squarely on Iowa blacktop, the 2025 ride made headlines by crossing the state line into Minnesota, a plot twist that took even seasoned RAGBRAI devotees by surprise. This wasn't just any detour. Organizers mapped this out because the 2 overnight stops in Iowa, Milford and Estherville, were barely 18 miles apart. To stretch things out and spice up the route, RAGBRAI leaders decided to venture north. In the early morning haze, hundreds of cyclists poured across Highway 86 into Minnesota, the differences in landscape subtle, a few more glimmering lakes, roads bumpier from Minnesota's frosty winters, but the spirit of adventure was unmistakable. Among the passing throng were riders decked out like Vikings and Golden Gophers, the Minnesota Vikings team, whose members, incidentally, were largely ex-Iowans who'd found work at the famed Mayo Clinic in nearby Rochester. "It just feels strange," admitted team co-captain Maureen Bigelow, gazing out at Pearl Lake during a rest at Brown Park, voicing what many riders from Iowa were quietly thinking. Surprise and excitement on both sides of the border. This deviation from tradition was so unexpected that even the audience at the January route review at Vibrant Music Hall was left speechless. For locals like Tammy Doppenberg, 67, the excitement was unmistakable. She camped out at Brown Park, sign in hand, welcoming riders from places as far-flung as Ukraine or New Zealand. "I was so excited when I found out," she said, delighted to finally see the famous event up close. She and her friend, Mary Gilmore, were wowed not just by the sheer scope of the ride but by the seamless organization behind it. For some Minnesotans, like St. Paul's Krista Zerbs and her father, Jim Nimlos, the lure of RAGBRAI finally making a stop in their home state was irresistible. Zerbs, in her Minnesota flag bike jersey, returned to RAGBRAI for the third time after skipping 2024, joined by her father for his 7th ride. "When I heard he was coming to Minnesota, how could I say no?" she said. Their story is proof that state pride runs deep, and sometimes it takes a border crossing to reignite the fire. And who brought the most Minnesota flair? That would be Carolyn Ruck, Cassie Guy, and Robin Dillon from Austin, Minnesota, riding with bike helmets festooned with cans of the city's most iconic product, Spam. "You'd be amazed how many cyclists have a soft spot for Spam," Ruck laughed, highlighting the joyful, tongue-in-cheek spirit of the day. Not everyone's cheering. But here's where it gets controversial. Some Iowans feel the ride should never leave the state's boundaries. "We have a beautiful state, just keep it here," said Judy Deckert of Davenport. Is this reluctance about preserving Iowa's uniqueness, or is something deeper at play? The conversation takes an unexpected turn with memories of a tongue-in-cheek proposal from Iowa Senator Mike Bauslot to annex 9 southern Minnesota counties, including Jackson, into Iowa. Mostly, people laughed it off, but for riders like Marla Eink, another Mayo Clinic worker originally from Iowa, crossing over felt almost like a gentle incursion. She compared it to the idea of annexing Greenland, more joke than reality, but still fun to imagine. Throughout Brown Park, college mascots and team colors made for great photo ops, but there's no mistaking RAGBRAI's Iowa roots. Herky the Hawk, not the Golden Gopher, got top billing in the park's festivities. A one-time thing or a new trend? Most agree this Minnesota foray adds a dash of novelty to the decades-old trek. Cyclist Cliff Gelderman, originally from Minnesota but now living in Iowa, called the day's ride a bit of a homecoming. He liked the idea of crossing into another state every once in a while, just not too often. So, is this a fleeting novelty, or the start of a cross-border RAGBRAI tradition in states like Missouri, Wisconsin, Illinois, or Nebraska? For now, organizers say there are still plenty of new Iowa towns left to explore. What do you think? Should RAGBRAI's identity remain tightly, and proudly, entwined with Iowa, or is there value in branching out now and then to neighboring states? Could state pride and tradition blend with a spirit of adventure, or is something lost when this iconic event leaves its home turf? Would you cheer the ride on in another state, or do you agree with those who want to keep it 100% Iowa? Drop a comment. Let the debate begin.